You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, man, we have another amazing guest for today. Today, man, we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and just being your own boss. I mean, who doesn't want to do that, man? We have a special guest. She is the owner of amazing business. So if you're into fitness, you want to take notes on this. She is the owner of online pilatesclasses.com. She is the one and only Lesley Logan. I want to first welcome you to the show and say how you doing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. So you have an awesome journey being an entrepreneur and being a woman in entrepreneurship. This is going to be a great show. So you started your business right before the epic season of, we all know it's the pandemic, COVID. You really done some amazing things. I mean, I would just want to know the story of how were you able to sell during the pandemic? Because a lot of people were worried about business and their jobs and what have you. So give us the backstory. What inspires you to launch the business and just be successful, man?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's a great question. And I think it's an important one to highlight. Like, some people might have even thought that having had an online business already, I was like set up for success. And I was definitely ahead of the curve, and we'll get to that. But it's tricky to own an online business no matter what's going on. Because I'll say, as soon as I landed, because I was on a plane when the pandemic started, was officially announced, I should say. I was in Cambodia leading a retreat, and we came back, and I had all these texts, people going, you're going to slay because you're already prepared. You've been out for 2 years. You already have your systems in place. And I said, yes. And everyone's teaching for free on Instagram. So it's actually a tricky journey, but I'll talk about how I got into this. I never set out to be an entrepreneur. I really loved my first job out of college, which was working in retail and selling high-end jewelry and just being in part of fashion, having a really good time doing that. However, I graduated college in 2005, and we all know what was about to happen around 2008, which is the recession, and also basically the loss of boutique retail and a career in that. And so I had found Pilates. I'd fallen in love with it. And I thought, well, I'll teach it on the side to supplement my income and really just kind of pay for my love of Pilates. But I got so busy teaching, yes, during the recession, that I had to leave the safe, secured, salaried job. And that put me on this career of teaching Pilates, which, because of who taught me Pilates, I was taught by one of Joseph Pilates' clients. I started getting asked to travel the world to teach, which was taking me out of my LA business, where I was teaching at studios and renting some space. And my husband had said, you should have an online class so that your clients can take it while you're traveling. And I had this whole thing. I was like, well, there's other online platforms. How would we be any different? And so I started to think about what those platforms were missing and how could I replicate what was happening in person? And I think this is really important. If you are trying to start something new, there's always going to be someone out there who's already doing what you're doing. So how can you be a little bit different? How can you find the thing that they're not doing? Because people can't please everybody. So they're going to have something they do really well. And then find a way that you can have unique play on it. And so what I wanted to do was make sure that everyone was taking the same class at whatever time worked for them. And that way they could feel like they're part of a community, as if they'd come to the gym to take class with me on Wednesday. If you didn't come to class on Wednesday, you'd miss it, and you could never have that option again. So there was this accountability and this shared experience that people could have. So that was really important to me. We made sure that on our platform, every single week, we took classes away. So that really got us launched and going. And I'll tell you this, if you build it, people don't come. You have to talk about it a lot. To talk about it a lot. And I'll say our first 2 years, with churn, I don't even think I had 100 members at the end of the second year, but I was trying really hard and I really believed in it. And then when the pandemic happened and we actually started to lose members because of the free stuff that they were finding on Instagram, I was like, I'm just going to stick it out, because people can't keep doing stuff for free. And we already have the quality. We already have the mics. We already have the lights. We already have the system. And what ended up happening is that patience paid off, and just constantly talking about it and already having a community in place. And so now, sitting here talking to you, we're a little over 4 years old. We have 500 members, and we do have one of the strongest communities out there. Our members are with us for years, and the journey has not been easy. In fact, when things started opening up, it got hard again because people were like, oh, I want to go back into a studio. And so we saw this like pendulum swing back to people going back in person. And then people realizing, oh, they also need the convenience of on demand. So it's starting to settle back in, but it has been a journey.
You listen to I'm Refocused Radio, talking to our guest, Lesley Logan, certified Pilates teacher. She also does breath work, habits and mindset coach, and also founder of onlinepilatesclasses.com. And yeah, everything you talked about, I mean, it's funny you said that things actually got harder when things started opening up again. It's like a pattern. So with that, I can only imagine like fear trying to set in and creep in. What were some of the things that you did to overcome those new fears that, especially as an entrepreneur, they seem to come out every single day?
Well, first of all, you think everyone has fears, and there is no way to get rid of them forever. So you can start to become aware of what your fears are. And the quicker you are aware of the fear holding you back or actually making you take actions you may not have taken without that fear, the better you are. So what I had to do is actually figure out what fears were the ones that kept coming up for me. Like what was, because there's a fear of loss and a fear of gain. That's kind of where your fears are. Fear of like losing clients, fear of losing money, fear of losing your house. Any of that kind of stuff is all loss. And then fear of gain is like, I had a massive fear of success, which sounds really crazy. Who would be afraid of getting what they want? But I'd never seen that happen before. So I definitely was afraid of it. And I thought I would, maybe people wouldn't like me anymore with that kind of stuff. So what I had to do in the process of building everything is when I felt the fear, I would call it out loud. I'm having a fear of success right now. And then that kind of actually it almost hits pause on everything. It's like, if you're thinking of a movie, the movie would just like stop. Everything would stop. The sound would stop. And it allowed me just to go, okay, so is this reasonable? Like, is this rational? What is this fear doing? And what can I do right now? And that's a really important thing. When you're feeling the fear, if you can actually take an action against the fear in the moment, it really does dissipate that fear, and that fear has less of a stronghold on you. And it's not like I don't have fears today, but I'm so much better off of like calling them out as a muscle and taking some action against that. And action is the antidote to fear. And action brings clarity, which allows you to figure out what that next step is going to be.
It's funny you say action, because I was just about to say that life is not meant to be boring and dull. So how do you keep yourself excited about your business and just basically, like you said, taking those risks?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. And I'll say I'm very lucky to be very clear on why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think actually during the pandemic, I got even more clarity. So I know I created my business to help more bodies do Pilates, because Pilates is amazing. But why is it amazing? Like what's the next level? And so I kept percolating on it. And I remember distinctly walking my dog during the first month of lockdowns and going, well, I have nothing else to do. So I'm just going to keep walking until I figure out like, why is this so important? Why am I like working so hard to make this happen? And it really came down to that. I truly believe that when you connect to yourself more, you connect more to others. And I think that this world is full of like people who don't feel seen. They're really lonely. They don't have the relationships they want to have. And most of it's because they actually just don't know themselves enough. And so by getting really clear on what that was, it fired me up to fight harder and to keep going. And whenever I feel a little bit like this isn't working, I feel frustrated, I go back to that feeling. It's like, okay, you can quit at any time. Like no one is saying I have to do this business. But what happens to that mission, and who's going to do that, and what can I do? And so sometimes it comes up with new ideas to fix the problem, and other times it's just the kick in the pants I need to keep going.
Once again, listen to I'm Refocused Radio, talking to Lesley Logan. And yeah, when it comes to your business, everyone gets into that point where it's time to expand. And sometimes old things fall away and new things are birthed. So for you, Has there been a point, because you said about 4 years plus, now with your business going, did you find yourself in a point where new things started to happen for your business where you had to adjust some things in order for the growth to continue?
Yeah, we decided to bring on other teachers end of last year. I could tell, just because especially what was going on around the pandemic, people were getting to a point where they wanted to see themselves on a screen. They wanted to see someone who looked like them working out. And I wanted them to have that because I also know what it's like. You wonder if like you're going to be good enough. And if you can see someone who's a bigger body doing it, or shorter person or taller person or person of color, then that kind of gives you permission to try. And so that we started in January of 2022. So this year is our first year having these other instructors. And I just brought on a fourth. And the first 4 months of having those other instructors, who, by the way, we just started off with them teaching one class of the whole month. We had so much pushback. People felt like they weren't getting access to me anymore, that things were changing in a way that they weren't going to like. And I just asked them to trust me. I said, can you please just trust me? They're going to say something that's going to resonate with you in a way that I've been trying to help you with that this whole time. And that was something I knew we needed to do. And it has definitely helped us in a lot of ways grow the community. And in other ways, it was definitely something that I had to work really hard to convince the people who'd been with us that it was a good decision. So that expansion was one of the best and the hardest.
Listen to Unfocused Radio, talking to Lesley Logan, the one and only Lesley Logan here on Unfocused Radio. She is the CEO and owner of OnlinePilatesClasses.com. You make this look easy. I said it to my guests, not just as a joke, but just as the point that success is different for everyone. And for you, how have you been able to measure success for yourself personally to the point where you're not being overwhelmed by the pressure?
Yeah. For me, the measure is freedom of my own time. So as long as I am in control of my schedule, even if it's a little bit fuller some days other than on others, but if I am the one who is deciding when things are happening and when I'm doing things, then that is success, because there will be times in the business that are easy, and there's going to be a time in the business where it's freaking hard. And you just you're like, when is it going to get easier? Why is it so hard? But as long as I look at the schedule and go, I'm not working before I said I would. I'm not working on my days off. Those are those things I can remind myself, like, I'm pretty darn successful then. Like, it may not be making the money I want to make yet, or it may not have as many members that can making the impact I want to have yet, but that's okay. Anytime I hit that goal, I'm going to raise it anyways. But as long as I am in control of that schedule, that's success to me.
I like that. If you don't control your time, something else will. So That's, man, mic drop. We're not even done yet. but you also have a podcast. It's called Be It Till You See It. What was the story behind that title?
So a question I get often is, do you do so many things and you're so confident when you do it? And I always thought that was so interesting. I mean, even when you said, like, you make it look easy, it's like, well, I don't try to like put out just, perfect stuff all the time, but I also don't want to bore you with how hard it is every day. So, but I got this question a lot, and I was like, that is so interesting. Why do people think that? Because I don't feel confident in everything that I do. In fact, sometimes I feel scared, but I do it anyway. And so what is that? What am I doing? And so I kind of reverse engineered my process. And I realized that in all the things I was doing, I may not know how to do it in the beginning. I certainly didn't know how to be a podcaster in the beginning, but I was like, well, so-and-so I admire as a podcaster, and they act like this, and they do this, and they find guests. And so I just like put my hat on as if I already was one, and then did that. Similarly with my business. I've never been a CEO before. I've never owned an online platform. I'm not a tech person. I got a tech company. But if I was the owner of a CEO or the owner of a tech company who knew what they were doing, and a CEO who knew what they were doing, what would I do? And I started listening and researching other CEOs and hearing they delegated a lot. They asked him They asked for a lot of questions. And so I started acting as if. And there's a book called The As If Principle. There's also something called in psychology world called cognitive embodiment. And basically, instead of waiting until something happens to be the person you want to be, you actually should start to be that person, be the being rather than the doing first. And then from that, you take action. Because we take action from who we are and what we believe, right? So if you believe you suck, you believe something won't work, the actions you take will actually self-sabotage or not work. I mean, you'll just prove yourself correct. So I wanted to create a podcast that would actually help people see that most people in life don't really know what they're doing. There's struggles and obstacles along the way, but they take these leaps. They do it scared. They take messy action, and then also interview people who can explain why we might not be able to. Like maybe there's hormones going on in your body that keep you from feeling confident or keep you from feeling like you want to be out in the world. Maybe there's health issues that could be happening, and just different experts in that area, so that I could help everybody realize that like even the most confident people in the world are still doing stuff they don't know how to do. And we can all be like them. And so how do we do that? And how do we stop waiting to be deemed worthy of whatever it is and start being the person we want to be today?
I guess you're going to drop like 3 mics today because that's like the
well, you have the best questions.
Man, I appreciate that. Another thing too, by the way, listen to Army Focus Radio, talking on guest Lesley Logan. When you said the part about our actions, right, it mirrors like what we are mentally like focused on. That's pretty powerful, because I had someone on the show say one time, you know, and I'm pretty sure he stole it from someone, because that's what most great quotes come from, someone that, you know, is not from us ourselves. And he said, wherever the mind goes, the body follows. So with 2023 around the corner, what's the next level for your business? What's the next thing that you're aiming at to go to that next level for yourself in your business?
Good question. I'm feeling that there's a big level up happening, and it's I can always tell because a lot of stuff doesn't go well at one time. And those obstacles are things that I have to like, it's a muscle that I need to have for where I'm going. And so currently, as we speak, as I'm handling some obstacles and I'm like, really, this is happening now? And what is this? I just keep telling myself, this is something I need to experience right now so I can be this next level that I am trying to step into. And one of those things is, we finally made the company almost hit 7 figures, which is huge. I've never been a person who's seen 7 figures in their own business. I don't have any friends, I have not seen that before. So now to take it to its next level, who do I have to be to do that? And so I'm having to do some big soul searching on, well, what does that look like for me? How do I want to do that? What am I doing with that money? What does that look like so I'm just like really picturing the future. And I think that's going to require me doing a lot more trusting of hiring of others to help out with some things, and also tightening up some of our systems and processes, which is not the sexiest thing in a business. It's kind of boring, but there are some things when you're pulling things together and having a little bit of luck on your side where you can kind of get away with duct taping some things here and there. And at this point, for us to go to the next level, we have to tighten things up. And one of the things that we're doing is changing how we see how an employee or someone on our team is doing their job. And that includes myself. So changing the metric of which we are seeing how they're doing. And that is a whole new way of leadership. I've got to be really honest. It's a whole restructure of the business. And so I'm having to step into this person who is actively being a leader, not just in my communities, but in my team as well. And that's not something I'm used to. That is definitely not. So seeking out coaches who have done that, who've been there, who can help me with that. And then also I'm spending a lot more time meditating in the morning, and not necessarily, I'm not saying like meditating, like I actually like and sit there and be still, but just because I'm really not good at that, but just like sitting still just sitting still and thinking about that future and what does that look like, and letting my mind wander with that. So meditating would be like clearing your mind. I'm letting my mind percolate on it, and each and every day it gets more and more clear. But one thing that I do every year, and I'm about to step into it in the starting tomorrow, is I take the last 2 weeks of the year off, 2.5 weeks of the year off. I go on the road. We do a road trip across the country, and I get bored. And that always helps me figure out like, oh, that's the thing I need to do. That's the thing I need to add. Oh, that's the thing I've been pretending to not know. And really owning that stuff. And that's hard because that means owning the stuff that you don't like about yourself and you have to change. And then the things that you do like about yourself that you want to amplify.
And I think you took all the mics because I don't think I have any more left. Keep dropping them, man. But yeah, I mean, once again, listen, I'm Focus Radio, talking to our guest, Lesley Logan. She is the CEO, owner of online PilatesClasses.com. Call to action for our listeners. It's Christmas. What will you want people to give the best gift for you if they can help you?
Oh, gosh. Okay. You know what? If you want to help me, this is the thing that I'm super passionate about. You must prioritize yourself. You have to, because you're no good to anyone, including me. Half filled, half filled of fuel. And I tell this to our, those people who take classes with us at onlinepilatesclasses.com, OPC, we tell them, you have to pour into your cup first. You must. And if you need me to remind you of that, even for 5 minutes, then that's what I'm here for. But the best way to help me and help other people is you've got to take care of you, because you will love bigger. You will be more confident. You'll do more things. You'll be kinder to others, including yourself, if you've gotten the sleep you need, if you've gotten your movement in. Even if your movement is 5 minutes, I know that doesn't seem like it's enough, but it means you're a perfectionist. Hello. Hi. An overachiever. I understand, but I promise you that you can literally change your world if you just take care of yourself first.
Man, I should close this show because it can probably go for another 40 minutes. But but with you being a woman in business, with all the new opportunities that are really out there for women to really get in business based on your personal experience, and you're married, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah. Working with your partner, what's some words of wisdom you give to women out there who may have the opportunity to be their own boss? What would you like to share with them?
Don't do it all yourself. Yeah, I'm very lucky that my husband and I both actually enjoy working together. I don't necessarily recommend that everybody hires their husband. It does work for us. But what I will say is, like, truly a lot of women think they've got to do it all on their own to be successful. And you can be a woman in business and be successful and have a lot of help. And that's okay. And one more thing on that, you're not going to be perfect. You're just not. And so give yourself permission to make mistakes and learn from them and do better. I promise you will have a thriving business that you actually love working at if you take the perfection off and you ask for help.
Once again, if you're looking for someone to support, someone who's not just a habits and mindset coach, but she is legit. She is a certified Pilates teacher. All right. So she's not fake news. Lesley Logan, true honor having you on the show. People can go to your website, online PilatesClasses.com. I want to say thank you again, taking time in your schedule, talking on Focus Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.